Hey, everybody, welcome. We are officially at the 11th day of the 12 days of Christmas. I can't believe we are almost at the end. I don't really think I'm going to know what to do with myself after this. My evenings are going to be free, but don't worry. We are going to continue to come to you with great content now that we've got our new YouTube channel. We're definitely going to be doing other things after this. So a big thank you, first of all, to everybody that's here with us live tonight. And a big thank you to all of you that I know are jumping on and watching the recording as soon as we get it uploaded. So I really appreciate that. I appreciate all the comments, all the feedback, everything behind the scenes. And I'm so glad that everybody has been enjoying this. And we are absolutely going to look to continue, God willing, that we're all here. We're going to continue this tradition next year, except I told somebody earlier, I need to make sure I get on my calendar, because I don't know about any of you, but sometimes you get halfway through the year and you're like, what the hell did I do? You like forget. And then all of a sudden last minute, you're like, oh my God, I forgot. We got to coordinate this. So I'm determined this year, one of my 2023 resolutions, going to sit down next week and try the best I can to kind of plan out the year with some different things in mind for all of you, and as well as people local here. Not to mention, of course, I've got to already start planning for shearing season. So super excited about that. So with that, super excited about our guest this evening. Now, one of my main goals about doing the 12 days of Christmas was, first and foremost, I reached out to people that I love and adore, people that I admire, people that I know. But just because I say I know them doesn't mean I really know them. I mean, some of these people are work colleagues, or we see each other at shows, and that's kind of case in point for our guest this evening. So there's just a mutual level of respect and appreciation. But I am personally also looking forward to getting to know our guest just a little bit more. And if anybody doesn't know, I always love my silver. Some of it's a little hard to see now, but it's pretty funny because I know one of the things we'll be talking about is I grew up in an extremely gold filled world. So the transition to silver was a late one. And I think it probably made my poor mother aghast at first. God rest her, but she hung in there with all the gold and literally all the bangles up her arms. That's kind of like what she was known for. I swear to God, she would wear like 7 bangles or so, all sorts of dangly jewelry, whatever she could fit on her tiny little arms, she would have them on her, and earrings all up and down her ears. So I just grew up loving jewelry, and absolutely love what we've got for you guys tonight. So again, it's still in the fiber theme, but just a little bit of a step off the path. Although, of course, you're knitting, so that's great. Oh, I love the colors. Awesome. Well, without further ado, let me give you the floor. Why don't you briefly introduce yourself, whatever you would like to say when somebody's like, who are you and what do you do? But then have no fear. I'll pull you in a million different directions. We'll go back to what you used to do, how you got started with this. There's going to be plenty of time to chop it up, and I'm super excited. Plus, of course, don't forget, guys, we are definitely going to get to see lots of pretty, sparkly, silvery things. So I'm super excited. All right, take it away.
Well, hi, guys. I'm Christy Jensen, and I started the company about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, 4.25 years ago. And Birdi Parker was my great grandmother, and I just loved her name, and so that's what I went with.
Wait, was that really her first and last name?
Mm-hmm.
That is epic, because that was going to be one of my questions I was going to ask you, because I'm sure a lot of people assume that that's your name.
Yeah, absolutely. And I answer to Birdi now. I actually would rather be named Birdi than Christy, but you know, it's too late to switch. But yeah, she had a very sad life story. So she was married previously before she married my great grandfather. He was also married, and so I think they both came to the marriage with, I think, 3 kids each, and then they rapidly had 2 or 3 more, and the last one of which was my grandmother. And so the family tale is that she lost it all, and you know, I can only imagine that, like, maybe she had postpartum depression or something, but she ended up in a mental health hospital, and she lived there for like 30 or 40 years until she passed away.
Wow.
yeah. So my grandmother, was raised by her siblings basically. And so anyways, I love her name. And I kind of also wanted to pay homage to this woman who, you know, is the reason why I'm here, but didn't get the best shakes in life, so
That's an
um
amazing story. I really love it.
yeah.
And it has
Okay.
such a beautiful ring to it. It really does. It's really a
Yeah.
name.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Amazing.
Super special. Uh let's see. So I live in Northridge, California, which is in the San Fernando Valley in the Los Angeles area. And my husband and I have been in this house for about 5 years. And I don't have any children, but I have two obnoxious dogs, so they'll probably be in here pretty soon and sticking their
Ah,
nose in. But I love them. And so yeah, I do you want me to get started on like
like
how the
what is
business got?
yeah, because I was going to say I thought the business was relatively young. So
Mhm.
what did you do before this?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I was one of those terrible, terrible high school students, and like I barely graduated high school because I realize now that I had undiagnosed ADHD, but I just half-assed my way through school. And so then after I graduated, I started college at the community college, and then I would drop out, and then I'd start again, I'd drop out, start again, drop out. So, anyways, I finally ended up in. I had a couple jobs. I worked at a credit union, and then I was a flight attendant for 8 years, and then after 9/11, I um, quit the airlines because that was
Yeah.
crazy time. And so then I went and I signed up with a temp agency, and they sent me to a chamber of commerce. And within a year, I went from temp to the president and CEO, kind of took over. And then I did that job for 4 years, and then I just kind of then I started doing bookkeeping, and I ended up and kind of built this bookkeeping business, and it just gradually took over. Like all his clients were glass blowers, and it wasn't intentional, but but I learned
Well,
these glass blowers.
just so you know, your service is a little shoddy. So you froze there a minute, but that's okay.
Sorry,
No, don't be
it
silly.
it's been dumping rain here, and I mean dumping like biblical levels of rain, and so it's probably that.
No problem. No problem.
So yeah, and then I was doing bookkeeping for glass blowers. I did that for about 10 years. And then in the meantime, I had met my husband, and he says, if you'd ever want to go back to school and get your degree, like we can swing it. Like I can
Oh,
support us while we're doing this. I said, great. So I went back to school, which it's funny because when I got all my transcripts together from all of my first attempts at college, it was like a 2.1 GPA or something like that. But then I just really dug in, and I took it so seriously because it was my job. And so I ended up graduating, with like all honors and whatnot. But so I had originally wanted to go to school so I could go to acupuncture college. And then I kept sneaking in art classes into my curriculum. Every semester I would take art classes. And finally my husband was like, why don't you just get an art degree? And I was like, everybody always tells you like, don't get an art degree, you'll never get a job. But our situation was such that, we live below our means, and he has a good job. And so I was like, okay. So I I ended up in the sculpture department, and I love to do like figurative sculpture and like, busts and stuff like that. And then I transferred to Cal State University at Long Beach. I transferred into their sculpture department, and the sculpture department there is like really like conceptual. Like it's just a bunch of like, for instance, for one final project, this guy came into the room right before we started. He swept up everything in the room, and it was just a pile of garbage and ceramic dust and candy wrappers and um, pens and just literal garbage. So he swept that all up in a pile, and then he laid down on the floor, and he had somebody dump the pile of garbage on top of him, and that was his sculpture. And so we spent 4 hours standing there, and he was laying on the floor, and we had to critique his sculpture. And I was like, I got to get the hell out of here. Like, this is this is not my jam, you know. Because I'm more like, I like to make like art that is like useful, you know. I for a while thought I would like maybe try and do lighting or something like that, you know. So anyways, I was complaining to somebody about how much I hated this program, and I was feeling like I'd made a huge mistake. And my girlfriend took me over to the metals department, and she's like, "You should come check it out." She's like, "We get to, set things on fire. We get to hit things with hammers, you know." And I went over there, and like everybody was so warm and welcoming, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can see myself here." So I immediately transferred over, and then like I just fell in love. So the entire time that I was in school, I was also knitting.
Okay.
And so I'm
'Cause
one of
that
those
was,
people.
not to interrupt for a second, because that was a question that somebody had, like, now looking back, were you a creative person growing up,
Mhm.
but again, just never thought that it was something you could do as a career? And that's what I was going to ask. Were you knitting beforehand? So you always had that creativity. Like, what sort of things did
Oh
you do
yeah.
when you were younger to exercise your creativeness?
Well, when I was a little kid, it was a lot of drawing. And then just I love to learn a new skill and then kind of follow it all the way back to like the bare beginnings. And so like for instance with knitting, I had I had bought a little kit at Costco, and it was a learn to knit kit, and it had like some little cheapy knitting needles and some acrylic, yarn, and then a little book, which wasn't that great because it turns out that I was knitting through the back loop the whole time because and dating myself here, this was before the internet. So I'm trying to learn from this book, uh, and so I did that, with some fun fur. I made some skinny fun fur scarves, and then I just kind of, I got distracted by something else. And so then when I started school again, I was at the bus stop one day and I was just freezing, and I thought, you know what, I need a hat. And so I decided I'm just going to go down to the local yarn store, and I'm going to buy myself some yarn. I'm going to knit a hat. And so I went down, got some like quality fiber, and then got on YouTube, figured out how to knit a hat. And then I was like, wow, yarn is expensive, the nice stuff is expensive, which LOL, because like the amount of money that like I will drop on yarn now is just like, that person 12 years ago would have been aghast. Um, so yeah, so then I was like, well, how do you make yarn? And by now Google has been invented. And so, you know, then I'm like, oh, okay, so you get this roping, and then I made myself a drop spindle, and then with junk from around the house kind of stuff. And so I was spinning yarn, and my husband just looked at me and he's like, there's got to be a more efficient way to do this. So that Christmas he bought me a spinning wheel. And
Oh,
then I found this woman who had an alpaca farm, and she was like an hour outside of where my family lives in northern Nevada. So then we stopped by the alpaca farm, and I picked up a couple fleeces, and then I was like making my tools so I could process the fleece. When I say I do a deep dive, I do a deep
you're not
dive.
kidding. You do. You do. I'm surprised you didn't go all the way to having the animals.
I, I would if my husband would allow me, but I don't know if we're zoned for sheep here. But I keep telling him, I'm like, they'll we can get rid of the gardener. They can like mow the lawn, but he's not convinced. But um yeah, so I have a loom in the back.
Wow.
I have a couple spinning wheels, like embroidery and cross stitch and sashiko and quilting and all these different things. And
All right. Well,
so
as a
there
spinner myself, wait, so what wheels do you have?
I have a Kromsky, I want to say Sonata, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure. And then I have one of the little Ashford like travel, the fold up
The
guy.
traveler. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I take that one camping with me sometimes.
Cool.
because no better way to start conversations with people than to be spinning, yarn in a campground.
Oh my God. I used to, when I was first spinning, I have a Maja Craft rose, but it like folds down and then it's got a handle. So it's really pretty
Mhm.
portable. I would like take it to the beach. Like I was that
Yeah.
weird, because like I just wanted to take it everywhere because I never really got into the drop spindle thing.
Yeah.
It just really wasn't my jam. I can do it, but I'm like, all right, this takes too long. Not that spinning
Right.
any faster, really, by all means. But anyway, so I can certainly relate because it really is a good conversation piece.
Definitely. I have a flatbed knitting machine, so I've also taken that and just been sitting at the picnic bench in my campsite, just, and my husband loves it. Like we're both like super nerds, and like he also does deep dives into different things. He's taught himself how to code. He taught himself calculus,
Who does
so
that?
uh weirdo here. So yeah, so anyways, I just was I went through the whole metals program, and I learned blacksmithing, and yeah,
Do you know my
etching.
husband's do you know my husband's a farrier?
uh Maybe. I feel like we might have had a little
I mean,
chat
if
about
not,
that.
but either way, that's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
The thing. Love it.
Yeah. So, the etching, the enameling, the, soldering, the whole thing. And so then, I got my degree. And right after I got my degree, my husband and I decided to sell our old house. We had to do some quick renovations and then, buy a new house. And so everything kind of got put on hold for a while, but we finally got here, got set up again. And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this degree? Like the typical, like, art degree, what do you do? And so that's when knitting came back in. I was like, at the time, a lot of the handmade jewelry out there was like a lot of, like big stones and, big stone rings and turquoise and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
I was like, the market is fairly saturated with that kind of stuff. But I was knitting still, and I thought, and of course I've gone to all these yarn festivals, and I thought, wait, is there a way that I can etch knit stitches onto metal? And so I figured out a process, and I etched a sheet of copper, and I sent it to my girlfriends, and I was like, do you think anybody would buy, earrings or necklaces made with this stuff? And they were like, yes, do it. And I was like, okay. And so I just sat back there and I played around, and I came up with, like, I don't know, 8 or 10 different designs of earrings, different shapes and stuff. And, so I do copper, brass, and sterling silver. And I do have a plating machine, so I can plate, rose gold or yellow gold. So yeah,
So
it's
that's
just
it. Like it
kind of
wasn't
a,
even a eureka moment. It was just, I mean, obviously in a way it was, but that of course was curious as to, how you came about it. And so it wasn't even like you saw something. I mean, it just really was just an idea that you cooked up in your head.
well, and I was also, aware from working for artists for years that you kind of have to have a niche.
Yeah.
And so I know from going to shows like Stitches and whatever, uh, there weren't any knitting jewelers at the time, and so I was like, well, let's do this. And my husband just kept pressuring me, not pressuring me, but he was pushing me, and he says, just make a website, just put the stuff on there. He's like, I would rather you, try this, and maybe you'll succeed, maybe you'll fail, but at least you gave it a shot. And so I'm also like a huge introvert and fairly shy. And so that's one of the things that's been hardest for me in this is like, right after I launched the website, there was a Stitches Pasadena down here. And so I went and I had my business card, and I had made some stitch markers, and anybody who would make eye contact with me, I was like, hi, I made these earrings, like I made this necklace. So from that show, I picked up a couple trunk shows locally here. And then I just, started building the internet presence and stuff like that. And it's just it's become this crazy juggernaut. And I don't know, it's amazing.
I would have never guessed that you are an introvert because, of course, then here's me. Hey, you want to be on Zoom with me and talk in front of people? But I would have never ever known, because I don't even really remember how we started chatting. That was, of
I
course.
do.
Oh God, I almost knocked my light over. Really, you do? I don't. So tell
Uh-huh.
me.
Yeah. I was thinking about it today, and I think what happened was I was at Rhinebeck in 2019. Yeah, it must have been. And I ran across your booth and I fell in love with the shepherdess salve. Do you remember that? I was like,
Yes, I mean, no,
well,
I mean, I remember I would see you at Rhinebeck, but
uh-huh.
because the same thing, especially at Rhinebeck, right? Like it's so busy.
Oh yeah,
So that's
it's so
why
overwhelming.
like how in the world, like honestly, you must have then, if that's where we like met, then you must have
Mhm.
done a great job of catching my attention because like I no, really, because like I tell people, you know, there's people that I know that will see me there and they're like afraid to stop or say hello or talk to me because they know I'm busy or, and most of the time you're just throwing stuff at people. I mean, it's
Oh
just
yeah,
insanity there. So I
yeah.
know that I talk to you when I'm there, but yeah, and I know you love my salve, which of course, thank you, but I didn't realize that that's what we bonded over.
Yeah, so I think I bought the salve and I probably gave you a card, that whole thing. And then we were both at Vogue Knitting in February of 2020. And that's when we really like got to connect. And you said, "Oh, I want to come down and see your stuff." And then that's when you bought this bracelet. Or
Yeah.
yeah, I just happened to be wearing it. It's funny. Yeah, and then that's when we really connected. So yeah, just of course, it boils down to you having the great salve and me being obnoxious with like introducing myself.
No, but
I
here's also the thing. It's just obviously first of all, you weren't obnoxious. And second of all, you were obnoxious and getting my attention with something that I absolutely love. So, I mean, it kind of worked both ways. And then, yes, as we were
Yeah.
talking on the phone earlier, then I remember at Vogue, then that's when I purposely sought you out because you were on the other floor from where I was.
Mhm.
And I remembered exactly where you were. I remember going to your booth, because when you're at these shows and you're vending, right, you have like, a half an hour if you're lucky at that to like go do a couple things or,
Mhm.
enjoy or network or whatever. So
Mhm.
I remember I specifically wanted to make sure I came and checked out your stuff. And yeah, then really from there, we just sort of connected Rhinebeck or, just kind of, keep track of each other on Instagram and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like we chatted a lot during the beginning of the pandemic. Like, oh my God, is this show gonna go on? Or how long is this gonna last? Like, and then everybody started pivoting to the online shows, and you were like, hey, how was such and such show? And I was like, oh, it's okay, but how's this show? So
yeah.
yeah, I
And
think that's
that's a
where we
lot
really
of,
started
what
bonding.
I've talked about with other friends on this too, is that like, again, even though maybe we've never had like deeper conversations, it's such a great community. And then there's certain people, of course, that you latch onto or you feel a certain vibe with. And, the ability to get feedback from other colleagues and, especially
Mhm.
in different diversities within the same industry. Like it's just so nice when you have those people that you can reach out to and
Yeah.
get some feedback on. And it's been such a crazy time for all of us. And of course now we're back with Rhinebeck, but this will be our first time back for Vogue Knitting Live New York. So I know we were chatting about that, and of course, looking forward to seeing you there. So
Yeah.
it's great to be back in those venues. But I'm curious, how did the online, how did the virtual venues work for you? It was very difficult for a lot of people, to be selling stuff in this way. Did you feel like you had built up enough clientele at that point before everything shut down? I know you
Mhm.
really got big into doing a lot of collaborations, if you want to
Mhm.
talk about that kind of stuff. So how did you pivot? How did it work for you?
Well, I think maybe a lot of the fiber show vendors, they didn't have like good websites. They were more like sell in person people, and so
Yeah, myself included. Myself
yeah.
included. Yeah.
So, and I had already, started the website, so it was easy for me to pivot. Like I said, like doing the Zoom or the online shows by myself is like the biggest torture because, like this is easy because we're just chatting back and forth. But when I'm sitting talking to myself for an hour and, then I just get like, I talk really fast. I'm nervous. I'm sweating. I'm like, I've got, an hour presentation worked out and I blow through it in 20 minutes. And then I'm like, shit, what am I going to do for another 40 minutes,
They're like, and this pair of earrings, and
Oh
this
my
pair of earrings.
God. Yeah. At one point I was like, will everybody show me what they're knitting? Because I'm out of
Yeah.
stuff to say. So the first couple online shows were fantastic. I did like the Maryland Sheep and Wool because I was supposed to go there for the first time that year. And that was like the first show that had kind of gone online. And I did a couple of the Vogues. We did the India Entangled online ones and stuff. It got to the point where I feel like there were so many virtual shows going on that and I was dreading getting on these, Zoom things for myself. And so everything had kind of, I don't know, smoothed out, sales wise. And so I wasn't as involved with the online shows, like in 2021, 2020, I did whatever was available to me. But, and then in May of 2020, like the whole George Floyd murder happened. And I'm good friends with Gigi, Gay Glaspie. And so I had made her, I was making these little, I still am, but these little leather ballet trays. Usually there's one right here, but I must have moved it. And so mine were lasered with a yarn ball. And so she ordered one. And then I thought, I wonder if I could laser her logo into one. She would love that. So I had already made that and they were on their way to her. And we were all feeling so like helpless and like the riots were happening. And, I was just like, I got to do something, So I messaged her and I said, Gigi, when you get your package, give me a call because I want to talk to you about something. So she opens up the package. She sees her logo on the valet tray and she was like, oh my God. And I said, what if we make these trays and we put your logo on them and then we donate money to Black Lives Matter? And she was like, oh my God, yes. And so I thought we'll sell maybe 100 of these. And, we sold almost 2,000 of them.
That's
crazy. Yeah. And so at the time I still had the business here in the house and I had to like quickly order a second laser. And I called my sister in Nevada. I was like, can you come down here and help me? So she came down for about 2 weeks. And like, it was just this whole family affair. Like my husband would work for a while. He'd come in and he'd cut up leather. And then, she would be shipping. Hi, buddy. And it was complete insanity. It took us we sold the 2,000 trays in like 3 days, 2.5 days. And Gigi and I were talking, we were like, we got to stop this. We got to shut it down. Like, because I did say that I would take orders all the month of June. And I was like, I can't, So it took me seven and a half weeks to fill all those orders. And then we donated $30,000 to Black Lives Matter. So that was, it was just kind of the kick in the pants that I needed because I was like, I had all these grand plans to like build my business and, I had all these shows lined up. And then, the pandemic happened and I was just sitting in my studio and doing nothing. I just felt paralyzed, So yeah, that kind of started off the collaborations thing and doing stuff for charity. The next year, Gigi and I did a custom set of stitch markers, and we donated a bunch of money to oh my God, I'm blanking, the Conscious Kid they have like a housing assistance program. So we sent money to them, and then we the collaborations kind of started, and it's really fun, and it's I love like if somebody commissions like a custom set of stitch markers or the ballet trays or whatever for themselves, like it's nice because it's like it's not just my own stuff. I
Yeah.
get to like play with different images and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's
Well,
been
I
really
was going to
fun.
ask, so, I mean, look, like anything else, you have a business and you start with, one or two or five products. And then, right,
Hmm.
at some point, you're like, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? And so I think as a collective, to some degree, all businesses, constantly have to be
Yeah.
creative, come up with something new. I'm not saying my job is any easier because it's yarn and you can change the color of the yarn or, change where the fibers come from or what they are. But I feel like there's a little more flexibility there in my
Hmm.
efforts to be more of a brand and a lifestyle brand. We do try to have other things, but I
Hmm.
would think more in your industry that it could be potentially more of a demand or a pressure to constantly be creating something new. Now, if you're a creative person, I mean, we all are, but hopefully
Hmm.
maybe that's not a negative thing, but I'm sure
Hmm.
it's good and bad in some ways. So I'm curious in terms of like, what did you start with in terms of product base and how have you diversified? Or, can you even say, okay, well, I started with 5 things and now we have 30, or, did you move into different metals? And then did you start doing some stuff with wood or no?
I've done a, I kind of did a
Only
little,
because I know
a
there's,
test. Yeah.
I know
Test
that that's
piece with,
out there. So yeah,
yeah.
so talk about all of that because you've got to shift and you've got to come up with different things. I mean, like you
Mhm.
said, people can only have so many pairs of earrings. I mean, I really can't ever have that many bracelets, but
Yeah, so I started with, I think maybe 8 or 10 different shapes of earrings.
and if
I
you
did
have
start off,
anything, not to interrupt, if you have anything that you want to show while you're talking, please feel free, of course.
I'm a terrible, terrible guest because I came home because I was cold and I didn't bring any jewelry with me. But I trust that y'all be able to find the website. It's birdieparker.com and you can take a peek at it there. But yes, I started with the earrings and I started in brass, copper, and sterling silver because I wanted to have different price points because not everybody can afford $100 pair of earrings, and then if you can make them in different materials like copper and brass is much much less expensive. So
Okay, that's what I was going to
um
ask because honestly,
mhm,
I really had no idea
mhm.
which one was top, which one was bottom. So okay.
Yeah, so I can get like a 12 by 36-inch sheet of brass or copper and it costs me about $70, but if I get a 12 by 12 sheet of silver it's like $900. So that's
Gotcha.
the yeah. So I started making the earrings and then I started making necklaces. And then, the wrist ruler, the
Yeah.
leather bracelets, I love those. So I had one of those and I thought, what would be fun is like if I could make something, my own version of that. So I started making, um, they're called the Rowan wrist cuffs. And so it's about a half inch wide of leather. And then it has a medallion riveted to the
It
front
has
and it's,
plate. Yeah.
yeah.
I remember
So
seeing that.
I started making those, but and I knew nothing about working with leather. So I went down to the leather store and I was like, here's what I want to make. Um, Give me everything I need to make this thing. And they were like, okay. And they like gave me this, and they gave me that. And so like I start with like just a giant, side of rawhide. And then I was coming home and I was cutting it by hand and punching the holes by hand and then dyeing it and everything. And right around the same time, my girlfriend bought a glow forge. And I was like, well, I don't really need that. And then I was like, wait a second, I could put a whole sheet of leather in there and it'll cut out the bracelets and put the
Okay,
holes
wait,
in
wait,
there and
wait,
everything.
wait. So what is it called and what does it do?
it it's called a glow forge and it's
Okay.
it's a it's a it's a kind of a hobby laser. And
Okay.
so it can laser a whole bunch of different materials, but for me I use it to laser the leather and acrylic for the stitch markers. So yeah, I just started tinkering with that. I taught myself how to, again, deep dive, like taught myself how to work with leather, taught myself how to run the glow forge. And from there, then I realized, okay, well, all these other things that I can make with the Glowforge, with the laser. And so then I started making the acrylic stitch markers. And I'm like a magpie. Like they release a new color or a new glitter or whatever, and I'm like, I buy it. And but my brain is kind of trained now to like anything I see, like how can I put a spin on that for my business, so like the leather ballet trays, I saw somebody had made one and it was just plain, and I thought, oh, I could laser a yarn ball on that or whatever. And so the laser, it goes back and forth, it etches the whatever your image is on there, and then it like will cut out whatever, it'll cut out the holes and stuff like that. So it just really sped up the process on my leather items. So then I started making shawl cuffs. And then I started, it's just like it just goes on and on and on. And so I mean, I'll literally just like look at something that is not even remotely related to knitting, but it will trigger something in my mind. And then I just start playing around with it and seeing if it works. So lots of then I kind of went down the stitch marker rabbit hole and made a whole bunch of different shapes, and I did like a stitch marker of the month club for about 2 years, and each month I would release a new pattern. I stopped it, I guess about 6 months ago, just because I was kind of getting burnt out. But I get a lot of commissions. Like I do a lot of work for Jimmy Bean's Wool. Like they have like a shawl club that I'm providing stitch markers for. Last year they had like a gnome box that each month I did a gnome for them. And so it's just, I don't know, it's just become
Do you
this
feel
huge
like
thing.
you
So
do more wholesale or retail, or is it a nice combination? Where's your business at these days?
it's probably like 80% retail, 20% wholesale. So I don't pursue the wholesale too much because it's just, it's a lot of work, and then half the profit, but it does help. At first I didn't want to do wholesale, and my husband finally said, look, he's like, not everybody is on Instagram and not everybody is on Facebook. And so, you might have somebody who is not on social media, but they go down to their local yarn store and they see the earrings, and then they think, let me check out this person, because, I think I have like technically like 1,200 items now, with different colors and different shapes and stuff like that. And so no yarn store can carry all those items, but like, of course my information is on the card. So if you buy something there and you go home and you're like, oh, Birdi Parker Designs, and so I'm not opposed to wholesale, but I'm also not like actively pursuing it. But do I do a ruler bracelet? No, I have not done a ruler bracelet because I feel like it's infringing a little bit on the wrist ruler people. And they've already been ripped off so many times. I don't want to join that club. I did make a I know I'm mad at myself for not doing a supermarket sweep before I left the studio, but I just created a 6-in-1 ruler wristlet. And it's like a bag tag, and it unsnaps, and it's got a 12-inch ruler on it. It also has gauge ruler, thing. What do they call it? Gauge, whatever,
Where you can
for
figure out what needle.
your needle gauge. And so it has the needle gauge and also crochet gauge, and it also has in the center, it has the Kitchener instructions, Kitchener stitch instructions, and then it'll clip onto your bag to function as a handle. So everybody, but in recent shows, they were like, have you ever thought about making this into a bracelet? So that's something that's on my list, so it'd be kind of a wider bracelet, but like kind of all in one kind of thing, so I kind of actually forgot about it until just now, but I'll put it on the list.
What's your favorite medium to work in? Now, look, obviously you do it all, and you have to I mean, I don't know, maybe you don't like, you have to like all of them at least a little bit. I mean, maybe there's something you absolutely don't like to do, but it sells well, so you do it. But like, what's your favorite? I mean, in terms of either the types of metals or the leather, or, is there something that you still haven't done that you want to do? Like you mentioned earlier, you were doing the bookkeeping for glass blowers, or so, where are you at with what you love as a person, not as the business person?
Well, now I've become so busy that like I am very strict with myself on what new hobbies I pick up or what new techniques I try, because again, like I'll just be like, oh, I love this, and I go in whole hog. So it's like for the business, my favorite thing is I love to do the etching, which is the electro etching, which if you have a piece of my jewelry, you can feel that the knit stitches are kind of raised,
Uh-huh.
and it's got a lot of nice texture. The irony is that I hated etching in school, and then I turned around and I created an entire business that is based off of etching.
Isn't that
Um,
funny how that is, right?
yeah, and then also like I love, I don't know if you've seen my recent like enamel work, and so I love doing that, and I'm happy that like I've gotten to the point where I can make more of that, more pieces with enamel. But I also hated enameling in school. So
The
I
only
don't
reason
know.
why I'm laughing is because it's funny when we had Siri and Colin on a couple nights ago. They're a young couple. So we were going back to talking a lot more about schooling. And, they might have talked. Oh, I think she was the one that said she hated sheep. And then, or no, actually, that was Amy last night. Said she hated sheep and now she raises sheep. And I just remember from my college days, there was like these two classes: feed grains and forages, and then also oral reasons, which was what you use for judging animals. And in my infinite wisdom, I'm like, what the hell do I need this for? I can't stand this. And then, of course, after college, I get hired to work for an extension service and have to answer questions about pasture management. And I start showing llamas and need to know about oral reasons. I'm like, oh, I should have kept my notes or paid more attention in class. But, and now, of course, we try to mentor kids and just say, look, take advantage of all of it. Trust me, you never know what you're going to end up doing in your
Mhm.
future, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So I recently upgraded my laser and I bought an industrial laser, and it's the size of a smart car. And so then I have these
Gosh,
two yeah, it's huge. If you go back on my Instagram a little bit, there's a picture like where I had to crawl underneath it to like get it level, and it looks like it literally looks like the Wicked Witch, like with the house falling on her and her legs sticking out.
and your
That's
little
me.
legs sticking out.
Yeah. But I was selling my Glowforge, and one of my old professors, she said, "Hey, I really want to buy that from you. Can I, come pick it up at your shop because I want to see your shop?" And then she was like, she says, "I also need some advice on etching because like your etching and your patina is like so strong." And I just was like, my mind was blown that like one of my professors was asking me advice on how to do these things that they actually taught me. But like
Cool.
but my like I said, my business is so heavily based around etching now. So yeah, I've been knitting a lot lately. I also picked up these little it's a little woven basket. I did allow myself to grab these. Um
Wait, did you make them or you just bought them?
no, I made it.
You did.
Yeah. Have you met me?
Wait, oh my gosh. What is it made out of?
It's just it's like the jute cord. Let's see. This is the jute cord, and then
Wait,
this
wait.
is
Is it just wrapped around, or but it looks
huh?
like it's woven in parts?
Yeah, it's woven in parts. So this is a linen yarn. I'm holding it down too low. And so you just start coiling the jute, and then you start wrapping the linen yarn around, and then the lady that makes these, I'll have to, if you're interested in the kits, you can send me a message on Instagram or whatever, and I'll give you a link to it. So there's a whole, instruction thing, and you're just like sewing basically,
That is so
and
cute. And
it's
it's just
really
like a
fun.
little tray to be able to put things
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was working on these when I was camping. I
So
went camping.
what are you knitting? I saw you're knitting. So of course
I
we got to
know.
get that in. Like people want to know. So what are you working on?
This is just a basic hat. And this is the Love is Love colorway from Gauge Dye Works, I think it is.
Okay.
And so I like to do like a little folded brim. This is my waist yarn right here, my
Uh-huh.
cast on. And so, I I'm a huge reader. And so my husband and I just went camping last week. And so I would sit there and I just needed something like so mindless to work on so that I could also read at the same time. So
Because you're not doing enough.
yeah, I do have a hard time sitting still. Yeah, so
Hence, as we started before I was recording, hence I do not do slow jobs, right?
yeah,
I gotta
yeah,
keep going. I hear you. I hear you.
yeah. So
Now you
I'm,
said you've been reading more recently though, but do you feel like, so how hard is it for you to balance your own personal hobbies and things that you'd like to do with, of course, the necessary demands of the business, which is how we all pay the bills?
right. Well, when I first started the business, I had it here in one of our spare bedrooms, and that was like the work-life balance was horrible. Um, and so after we did the Gigi collaboration, then it like the business had taken over the entire house, and I have a pretty large house, and it was just like it was everywhere. And so I found my studio. It's just a 700 square foot warehouse, and it's 5 minutes from the house. And so I moved all operations down there. The only thing is I still have the laser here because I built a special room for it in my garage. But I am being more protective of my personal time. And also now I have an assistant, so I don't have to do everything myself. Um, but yeah, it's hard because there's just I'm always thinking of stuff for the business. I'm always thinking of things I need to do for the business, things I want to design, and so I tend to just work at the studio and then come home and design. But then I'm like eating into my personal time.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hang up is with me with the designing part, but today I sat down there and I designed a new bracelet thing, and I did it there during work time, so that's good. Yeah, I don't know, it's hard as a businesswoman to like turn it off, you know because it's my job, it's my full-time job. I treat it like a full-time job. I get up and I go in at 9 and I come home at 5, and and I do end up like lasering in the evenings and on weekends, but at least that's like mostly hands off. I just go and pull stuff out of the laser, put it back
Yeah.
in. But
I think
yeah,
what's
so
important, I don't know about you, but I think what's important is, look, anybody in small business, it's not a full-time job, it's a life. It's what you pretty much do 24/7. And I feel like maybe what's important is if you're feeling like you need a better balance, or you're feeling like you don't want it to overflow into personal time, or you need more personal time, then you have to make a point to do that, or to carve that out, right? I think
yeah,
otherwise, if you're in the moment and happy with doing that 24/7 work, whether it's temporarily or all the time. So I think it's more about what makes you happy, what makes you comfortable,
yeah,
and that's different for everybody. So I think it's about being
hmm
self-aware, right? And
yeah,
and then that ebbs and flows too. I know I'm sort of living through that. I mean, in terms of maybe not feeling the most productive in the past, year and a half, and struggling with that personally, like really
hmm
having conversations with myself of like, what's wrong with me? I'm not working as hard as I usually do, which was probably at an insane rate. But
right,
you listen to yourself and you give yourself grace is what I say. And you
hmm
just ride it out, and then the next point flows, and then things start to change, or maybe they don't, right? I mean, that's okay
right.
too, as I've learned. If at some point in time you're like, I am just not doing this anymore, that's okay too.
Yeah, I really did have to work on boundaries with some customers. I'm very fortunate because 98% of my customers are absolutely lovely. But every once in a while I'll get somebody and they'll email me at 10:30 p.m. on a Friday night, And then the next morning, they're emailing me again because they haven't heard from me. And then, and then in the past, like I was answering emails at night, and I was, answering emails on the weekends and stuff like that. But I finally was like, this is ridiculous, And so I just don't answer until Monday morning, and I've had it just in the past couple of months, a couple of people that were like really upset with me because they were like, I have emailed you twice. And I'm like, you emailed me at 10:30 on Friday and then Saturday afternoon. And, I, and so I say, look, in order to preserve my work-life balance, I don't answer emails on the weekend anymore. I have to be a little bit more not abrupt, but just strong
Just direct,
and
yes, like,
yeah,
this is my
direct and
policy, and if it doesn't
yeah,
work for you, I'm
yeah,
sorry, but this is what I need because
yeah,
I'm important.
right. And and I am as guilty of this as anyone, but like we with Amazon, we have all gotten so spoiled to ordering something and it ships an hour later. But I make everything to most things to order, and so
Yeah,
when if it takes 5 days to ship, it's because I'm actually making it. Um, Christmas time is always interesting because there's like some husbands that like order at the last minute, and then they're like, when is this gonna ship? And I'm like, bro, you ordered on the 23rd. Like it's not getting to you in time. I'm sorry. So anyways, but you know what, I will say that I have the best customers, and I get these like really beautiful emails from people sometimes, and it's just like I'm just sitting at my desk at work, just like, sobbing because somebody
totally.
will, yeah, so I feel very, very fortunate to, have found this weird little niche, and that it's working. And
Well,
yeah,
and it's
so
probably, it works for a couple of different reasons, but the main reason is because it works because of you. And, wherever these conversations go, like even as we're having this conversation, I think to myself, what I love about what I've been doing over these 12 days is like, if somebody was to really, go back and look or the people that have been with me for each of these days, like every time we're talking with somebody, that there's always something that comes out of it, right? And I
mhm,
just was replaying this back in my head as you're talking, and you know how important is this? Like, who knows? Like this just might reach somebody in that sense. And,
mhm,
no, it has nothing to do with knitting. It has to do with business, or, like I just
mhm,
appreciate so many different things that, we all bring to the table as a community, and
mhm,
do things to help remind each other, right?
yeah.
Especially around the holiday time. I mean, that's exactly why I came up with this idea, and I didn't do my normal introduction. So I'm sure you've not heard it, but like, I said to myself this year, I'm not getting caught up in the Christmas rat race. Like, I
Mhm.
do not want to feel like I'm shoving my product down people's throats. I do not want to run around to every bazaar that I can find, not bizarre, strange, bizarre, like holiday bazaar.
Well, bizarre strange might
Well,
work for
that
the two of
too,
us.
that
I don't know.
too. So, like I didn't want to be running around every weekend. We didn't really have any virtual events. I just didn't want to feel that pressure. And I
Yeah.
really said to myself, you know what? If my numbers aren't as strong this month because of that, so be it. They know where I am. If they need gifts, they will come and shop. That is it. And whatever my numbers are, they are. Because I feel
Mhm.
like every year I get to Christmas and I'm like, what the hell did I do for myself? Like,
Same.
I mean, hence, I really have no excuse, because even though I tried to take it easy, I still have a tree behind me that's not decorated, but it's green, and like that's it. But we do
Yeah.
have a big, huge event that we do Thanksgiving weekend, so, but I did still say to myself, gosh, the whole time I'm like, all right, there are these people that do these advents. We were with Christina from Chelsea Yarns like the other night, and I mean, she has her advent plans and the registration opens in like April, she said. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, girl, I don't do anything that far in advance. Like,
Mhm.
so I'm like, that's out. I'm never doing an advent, and then, it's just, I started thinking about things and I'm like, well, I do want to do something. And then that's where I came up with the 12 days of
Mhm.
Christmas. And the joke is, I really didn't know it was a thing. I just like thought it was a song. And originally I thought it was the 12 days before Christmas. So then when I started researching it, I'm like, whoo, thank God I still have more time. I'm like, it's after Christmas. So, but it
Yeah.
has been nice because people have said to me, like I was personally feeling guilty. And so it was just a little bit of like, sharing my thought process, my business approach this holiday season, and yet still wanting to connect with people and still wanting to be able to share and not wanting to forget the holiday spirit when Christmas came
Mhm.
and we're all deflated the next day, right? So,
Yeah.
that was something for me, that I don't have a very good work-life balance because basically my work life is outside and they have four legs and they do not care about balance and they need to be fed every day, which
Mhm.
yes, you have that same thing. They're just probably a I don't know, indoor pet. I was just gonna say indoor pets are sometimes more of a challenge than my outdoor pets because the good news is I can close my door and I can just be like, have a good night, and
Right.
the indoor pets take over. But again, I think we're all human, and I
Mhm.
do think sometimes people forget that. And I think the most that we can do is have empathy, right, for those people
Mhm.
that expect things to be shipped the next night, and
Right.
also realize that some people don't even know how it works.
Right. Yeah.
They don't,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's why we do these things. And I think people
Mhm.
love to see behind the scenes and love to have a better understanding. They love the story, and then that also can make them more empathetic to your time, my time, but most importantly how things are made, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so talk to me about like what you think your, I don't know, do you have like a most popular product, like as far
Mhm.
as what, I don't know if it's, I get maybe like whatever's trending and whatever is new is what
Mhm.
people gravitate towards. But over the 4 years that you've been in business, what would you say are your best sellers? What do people seem to take home with them, the most?
Mhm. You know, it's kind of all across the board, you know? Um, the earrings always sell well, and they're good like gifts too for, so a lot of people have created a wish list on my website, and then, you can tell, from the
Wait, what is
notes on the
that?
thing.
Talk to it. What is that? What's the wish list on your website?
Oh, it's just it's a plugin that I added to my Shopify website. And so they can go in and they can build their webs or their wish list, and then you can email that to your, friends, family, whatever. And so,
Wow.
yeah, and so that's like, yeah,
Wait,
that thing has
wait. So
been
is that
great.
basically like, I'd really like this, and then you send it to somebody so then they know what to get you?
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
cool.
And so yeah, so like, I've had people say, "Oh, I've got that on my wish list. I've got that on my wish list," and then I'll see like their last name, but like maybe with their daughter's name or their husband's name or whatever. And so, yeah, it's you're just always thinking of like, how can I make the website more user friendly, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So yeah, I've
And
lost my
it's
train of
funny,
thought,
like
but
I have to remember you, well, or I try, but like when you were saying earrings are most popular, like literally I'm so boring. These are my diamond studs. They stay in my head 24/7. I don't ever take them out. I think maybe once in a while I might switch to another diamond stud, but that's it, so I'm
yeah.
not, I used to be, I used to be like the big hoops and all that. So I'm not an earring person. Like that would not attract me at all. But yet it's great in the comments. I saw a couple people, talk about that. So it's interesting that you
Mhm.
say that's always, a good seller, a big seller, and that's just not something
Mhm.
I'm drawn to. But so aside from the earrings, what else? Like tell people, even though you don't have it. Um,
Well, to
but
tag
yeah,
tag on
these I tell you, and actually there's a couple
long
times
in your
I've
ears.
I've lost them, found them, so yes, I guess if I'm ever in trouble or ever stranded, I could just, sell my earrings. But
Yeah.
what just because you don't have anything necessarily to show, and yes, guys, please make sure you do go and check out the website. But what other kind of stuff can people find then?
Well, okay, so one thing that I wanted to tag on is
Yeah.
like the stitch markers sell really well. And so they're made out of acrylic. And so when they're in the laser, they stink. It's stinky. And my husband is like a super smeller, and he's like, he's like, why? He says, why did you even start doing these? He says, you're a metalsmith. Like, why are you doing these? And I'm like, because I made, you know, sometimes I'll come home and I'll be like, yeah, I made $5,000 in stitch markers this month, you know, and he's just like, what? And I'm like,
So is
yeah,
it because the acrylic is cheaper so that they sell more? But is it any
yeah,
easier to make those than make them in other materials based on like how it's made? So is it also quicker?
yeah, yeah. Well, because I can, all I have to do is just design the, you know, the shape or whatever, like a sheet, you know, and then you put it into your program and then it, you know, you can multiply it and then you just put the sheet of acrylic in there and you hit go and then the laser does all the work. And then my assistant, she puts together all the stitch markers. So she, hi buddy, my old dog is here and he's like, pardon, mealtime was 16 minutes ago.
I know actually mine just got home, and so I don't know, like in the background, because I didn't have time to, my three, so
Oh,
my two pigs and my one dog, nobody eats until the other dog comes home. So it's like Pavlov, the bell. As soon as the other dog comes home, everyone's like, food. So in the background, like that's what's going on over here. So I get
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and so now I have an assistant. She does all the. She's in grad school, so like I'll just make all the stitch markers and I send them home with her. And so she and her wife just sit and, you know, they watch like Golden Girls and like put. They're like two. They're like 25, but they're like two little old ladies, you know. And so they sit there and they assemble the stitch markers, you know. But anyway, so this is something that I'm wait, where it's another bracelet, and this is it's an old technique. I didn't invent it, but the way that the wires twist together, it looks like knit stitches. And so this, I'm still prototyping this one. So this one is like that. I'm gonna try and have these at Vogue. And so that one is great. This is the one that both Tabitha and I are wearing, just like a basic, you know, silver cuff, but it's so wearable, right?
Yeah, it is. I think my faves was like early on, I was shearing sheep and I was wearing it and I would tag you and show you. So
Yeah,
when
yeah,
I end up like loving something, you know, then I just tend to, I mean, I do take it off to go to bed. Actually, that's not true. There's some things I don't take off at all. But yeah, like it's just, I love things that you can just wear. And trust me, this is durable as shit because I shear sheep with it.
oh yeah. If I'm wearing it, like it's like solid, and that's like this one that I just showed. I made it and then I'll wear it for a couple months just to make sure that it can like
Oh,
stand up. And
okay.
if it can stand up to my lifestyle, it can stand up to probably anybody's lifestyle. But like I've been making these Apple Watch bands too. And so they have they're leather, and I use like a leather acrylic paint on them, and then I throw them in the laser, and it lasers the knit stitches in there. And
Very
so
cool.
I think I have 6 or 7 different colors, and I have a new style that I'm that's what I was designing today. And so I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but it's it's pretty cool, if I do say so myself. Yeah, and I'm also working on a new like a new leather bracelet, which is again based on a old you know, an old technique, but with my spin on it. So it's called a mystery braid bracelet. It's leather, and so you fold it in a certain way, and it braids, and then like it'll have the knit stitches and the pearl stitches. It's hard to explain, but that's what I'm working on now. And yeah, I mean, I just have like all these crazy ideas. I'm taking this natural dyeing class right now, madder root, and you
Yeah.
know, all that stuff. So I've been playing with fabrics, and I want to do some natural dyeing with like indigo and rust and stuff like that. And then I'm going to dye up a bunch of fabric, and then my friends at Beautiful Sister, they're going to make them into bags for me. So that's going to be fun. I just
So where did you get the idea? I mean, is that just another one of your rabbit holes since we know you now? You know, in terms of like what's the connection for now having bags, or just because it's something you personally got into, which is fine too.
yeah, there's a school in Canada. It's called Maiwa, I think it's how they pronounce it, Maiwa. And they do natural dyeing. They have like these really fantastic online classes, and so it's just every week they give you a new module. And so, you know, one week was about mordanting your fabric, and one week was about scouring your fabric, and then, you know, the next one is, you know, we're going to dye with madder root. And so I've been taking these classes. And yeah, so the collaboration with Beautiful Sister, they make really great bags. And so with my fabric, and then they're like, they have this bag, and it's kind of like a little origami bag. And so you can open it up like a yarn bowl, and then it's got this, so close, this strap that you can like kind of walk and knit.
Okay.
Or when you're finished knitting, you just tuck this down inside, the handle down inside, and then you tie the tops together.
Oh, cute.
And so it's like this little bento bag of knitting.
I have this urge to stick a stick in it, and then, like, you know.
Yeah, like a hobo.
I love it.
Yeah, so Heather of Beautiful Sister, she designed this, and so they're gonna make some of these with like my fabric. I hope they
So I
will,
have
'cause
to
I'm kind of throwing
interject.
them under the bus.
So I know Janet is asking in the chat, but I'm not sure if she means making something out of an I-cord or using like the look of an I-cord and doing that with like metal or leather. So I don't know if Janet, you can drop that into the chat just to clarify, but that was something that that she had asked there in terms of, you know, style.
Yeah.
I would love if I could take a moment. Sorry, I'm like, there's like all sorts of feeding and things going on here. But if I know it's your platform, I'd love to share something with you, only because you might find it interesting.
Mhm.
So I have this huge, well, let me take it off because you can't see it as well behind my tattoo, but I have this huge bangle and then a series of smaller bangles that Christopher's grandmother made back in
Yes.
the war. I don't, did I ever show this to you?
Yeah, we talked about this at
Did I? All right,
or
well,
something.
I'll still share it anyway. But and the funny thing is because this was like way before I know you. This was way before I think you were even in existence. And I remember Trisha Malcolm, who used to head up Vogue, you know, we were great friends and we were out hanging out one night, and she just got onto this kick. I never made the connection. And she was just like, look at all that. It looks like knit stitches, like you should, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it was like this whole thing. And so, so this is the, of course, there's so much reflection. Trying to see if, there we go. So this is, if I can get it closer there. So that's the bangle. So basically, like when the men were at war and the women went in to do all the machinery and the welding and all of that work in replace of them being out to war, this was something she made. It's so bent and beat up because I wear it all the time that I can hardly get it on and off easily. And it's actually even saved my wrist because I would wear it shearing. So it's caught my clippers, you know, instead of like my clippers literally like cutting my wrist open. But then there's smaller ones like the one you were showing. And of course I would ever be like, I think actually I have one that's like that because I have 4 and I could only find 3. So there's this one, and then there's this one that's like a cable. But I mean, hey, if any of those look interesting, I mean, I'd be happy to send pictures. But you know, these are so old, and it's just cool. So when you held up that one, you know, I just love it. And you know, I have no idea where these came from or where she got the idea, but I just know she made them. That's it, and I wear them all the time. So I just thought that was cool. And gosh, I would love if I could ever be like, get more of them. See, look, I'm trying to get it back on my wrist.
Well, you could send that to me and I could
gonna say,
you know, round it back out.
I should probably send it to you. We can like fix it, because I'm always trying to like, and then I think one time actually when I was wearing it, a llama threw me up against my chute, and then that's what flattened it. And yeah, so it has character. There's actually even some cuts in it that I could show you from where my clippers hit it. I think there's even some paint in it somewhere, probably some blood, who knows? There's all
It
sorts
tells
of.
a story.
It is. But I just wanted to throw that in there. One, because I haven't shared that story in a while. Of course, it's special to me that, I was able to be gifted these, but
Mhm.
also just so cool that it has that same, kind of concept in it.
Yeah,
So I'll
yeah,
be super excited to see those hit the ground, and I'll definitely be getting some for me for sure.
yeah. They're a little bit of a pain to make, and so like I've been making them and trying to refine my techniques so that I can make them faster, and because I like to obviously I like to make money, but I also like to try and keep my costs kind of down so that it's my stuff is a little more accessible, but if it takes me 3 hours to make, and then it's like made out of silver, then it's like then the
Yeah.
price really escalates. So
Well, I think that's why
yeah.
it's nice though that you have so many different price brackets, right? So that
Hmm.
you've got
Hmm.
something for everybody, because
Yeah.
there's always going to be a sector of people that if they like it no matter what it costs. And
Hmm.
and then having something that can easily fly off the shelf, like stitch markers or things like that.
Right.
Now, do you
Right.
do rings? I don't Do you do rings?
I'm working on some, but I haven't in the past. I will admit that I am not great at making a ring to size. Like
Okay.
I'll be like, I'm
Well,
gonna
who
make a size
cares?
7, and I get it out and it's like a 9, and I'm like, what the hell? Like I did the math, like so. But I do have several designs in the works that, but again, that actually one is it's this thing, but
Okay.
it's a ring. So, but it's again, I've just got to get the techniques and the bumps worked out in it before I release it,
Right,
because if
right.
I get inundated with orders and then I'm still like slow at it, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, but you and I were talking about doing some projects together.
Well, I feel like
Um,
I've been asking you. I know I've bugged you for a little bit, and but as all small business or sometimes as just life goes, like you talk about something, then it drops off, and then of course I'll hit somebody up last minute, when I think about
mhm,
something, and it's like, okay, well we can get to it. So yeah, I feel like I got you nailed down this time. Do I?
mhm. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I talked to another dyer today, and
You did?
yeah, yeah. So she's in, and so what? So sneak peek for everyone here is just that like what I want to do is like a very large scale collaborative project with the makers in this community, and so we were talking about making like kind of bringing back like the charm bracelet, so the like making either a charm bracelet or a charm necklace. And then I want to make like progress keeper, like the charms. I'll make them into progress keepers, and then each maker can buy their design or their logo in a progress keeper from me. They will sell it on their website, but then you can kind of build your charm bracelet with your favorite makers and the progress keepers from your favorite makers, and then you can use them. They'll be useful. They'll be And so we're gonna have I'm just starting to put feelers out to the other makers to see if they're interested in doing it, but I
Well,
think it would be really fun.
and just to interject, what I was saying too when we were talking about it is like, not only, are you like, let's say the hub, but I was saying like how each of us, can work together to promote each other, because
Mhm.
if the original bracelet is coming from you, then I would be more than happy, to be like, all right, well, this is the one that I have, and then go see so and so and so and so and so and so. So it's just
Mhm.
a really, really great way for us to all work together and share people. And
Mhm.
in the end, and I had to dig out. I sent a picture to Christy earlier, but when we were talking about it, so this is my charm bracelet from when I was a kid. I don't, it doesn't even fit me anymore. I mean, I can't get on it. And of course, you can see it was gold because that's what my Italian family did. But my grandma had gotten this for me. Actually, it was from when I was so little that there's a safety chain on it. so I can't even get it to fit me with the safety chain open.
Oh,
So it was like I was an itty bitty kid. Like this is how big it was. Like I was pretty much a baby. And yeah, so I have all these different charms. And like I told you, I thought it was so cool. There's one, it's like a tiny little Bible that you open up, and like there's like little words in there. And
oh my God.
I think I used to be able to read them at some time. Not
Now
now.
you're getting out the progressives and you're like, what?
Exactly. But anyway, so it really brought back great memories for me. And even though it's not gonna like look like this, but you know, it's
Mhm.
such a, that's the idea. And it's such a cool idea.
Yeah. A little bit more modern, spin on it. I don't know. I also think it'd be cool to like run into somebody who's wearing one. And it's kind of like this little roadmap of like
Yeah.
of your interests and your favorites, And so oh, somebody
Yeah.
has your Bible thing. So so that's something that I'm starting to kind of reach out to other makers and see if they'd be interested in it because oh, somebody finally was that you, Jennifer, that just ordered? Because I
Oh,
saw
yep,
that
that's
an order
Jennifer.
came up.
Ah,
Yeah. So,
awesome.
yeah. So I don't know. It's just again, like I feel so grateful that I've been, really welcomed into the knitting community and that I'm able to do something that I absolutely love, and I don't know, like, and I get to prove all the naysayers wrong. Like, what are you going to do with a degree in metalsmithing? Like, well, like I'm going to become a badass knitting jewelry designer, So I don't know. It's
Awesome.
been it's been really amazing.
So we do have
Really,
some
really.
people that are, well, no. So of course I have to ask this first because so timeline, so this project that is like just barely in the works, I get that. And so I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything.
It's only been in the works for like 24 hours, lady.
Come on, let's go.
Oh Lord.
No, no,
But
no. Like, look, I'm a perfect example. I have no idea how these things work. But again, I'm just excited. I mean, look, even if we get them out by next Christmas, like I would be
yeah,
thrilled, or by fall, or something like that. And so, yeah, Janet, to answer your question, it's the idea is not so much that it would be Birdi Parker design, but essentially each of us would have our own marker that's ours. Like I would be buying it wholesale from Christy, essentially Christy would have the base piece, I guess is how I would see it, although maybe those are even wholesaled. I have no idea. This is her project. We were just sort of chopping it up today, and I was throwing out ideas, and I know it literally was like growing as we were talking, and things like that, because I kept bugging her because I love silver and I wanted something with life. I'll share it tomorrow night at the party. So you'll just have to come back tomorrow to see what I had done years and years ago. And for anybody that's really been with me, I was actually going to pull it out for a Fiber Room Friday 2 years ago, and then I never did. So it's still sitting in a box, but I have like vintage sterling silver life stuff that I had made a while ago, but it was just a pain and it was a process. And that's where I had always been talking to Christy about wanting to do something again, because I love silver. And so we just kept talking. And so now this will be something like, I will have my piece in a Birdi Parker design that resembles life, whether it's my little llama logo, and whoever else from their business, they'll have something, with their logo or whatever represents them. And then these would all be little progress keepers that would clip onto a bangle or, a charm bracelet. So
mhm.
I think it's
Yeah.
great. It's kind of
I
like,
think
in this new world where people can see your ETH wallets and, all that kind of stuff, and you can see what people are doing. And so, like you
Mhm.
said, it tells a story. It's a roadmap. It's like a scavenger hunt, and then
Yeah,
you run into somebody and you're like, I don't have that one. Where'd you get that one? And,
right.
that's how it goes.
Yeah. I think what I was kind of ruminating about today was like, I think I might do like like a chunky chain type, like the one that you just showed, and then also more of like just a sleek bangle. And then also some people just don't wear bracelets, and they prefer a necklace, and so I
Mm.
would do a necklace one too. So it would be um it would be words. Getting tired. Like you would buy the base from me, and then so there would be like a Birdie Parker, charm on it, and then maybe like a couple extra little. It's like a starter
Things that
kit,
you have. Yeah,
basically. Yeah,
exactly.
that I'll have, and then you guys will have the charms, and then you can sell them. Your customers can go to you to buy those. They're not
Yeah.
coming to me per se. But yeah, I was envisioning my listing on my website. It would be like, here are all the available charms, Long Island, so and so, so and so, so and so, and then just links to all those, the listings for the charms from there. So that we're all like kind of driving traffic to each
Yeah.
other that way,
Yeah,
That's
like
a great idea.
and
And
like
I love bracelets too, Eileen. I love this idea.
and that's the thing too. Like I was saying, I mean, I would be just as happy, to have on my website, like when somebody buys my charm, then you list all the other people as well. And that's, that's what this is all supposed to be about, is people working together. And regardless of the fact that, we have a new normal, but, we're all coming back in person, I hope this venue never leaves, because I think we can all agree, there's people that we would have never met or have never been able to see. And, we can see them here. So I think,
Yeah.
there's so many people that can't go to the in-person places, or they're never going to get to, Vogue Knitting Live New York. So that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So speaking
Yeah.
of which, Ken, for anybody that is going to Vogue Knitting Live New York, is there anything that we can expect from you new that you're hoping to drop? I think you alluded to something earlier, but what do you have in store for that show?
Well, I'll definitely have a new Apple Watch band. I'm going to try and have these guys. And I'm working on a leather project bag / purse that will be.
I was like on bated breath. I'm like, please tell me she's going to say that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I've got an idea. So I just have to, there's a lot of things that live up here that like, I just have to get into, but I'm very close on this like purse / project bag thing. Yeah. And it'll have a utilitarian aspect of it too, because like, I like my stuff to be useful as well as, pretty. So those are the 3 things that I'm working on for Vogue. Yeah. And then I'll be at Stitches West in, let's see, so that's March. I really got to sit down because like I cannot remember all of my events that I've signed up for. I know that I'm going to be doing I'll probably be doing the DFW Fiber Fest again. I did that one for the first time last year. Yeah, and it was fantastic. Everybody was so nice. And,
cool.
Of course, it was like, we're all coming back and we're so excited to see each other.
Yeah.
And then, something at Rhinebeck, and I'm doing the little pop-up at the Stockinette Zombies retreat. So that will be fun. That'll be my first time going there. I was talking with Danny
where is that? I'm not familiar with that.
I don't know.
Any idea? Okay, do you have a month, like a time of year?
No.
All right, well, let's hope it's not February.
It's not February. I want to say it's like
we can Google it.
Yeah, I want to say it's like June or July, and it's in Wisconsin, maybe. See, this is how like it's June. Thank you, Amy. This is how like scattered I am, like total ADHD brain, So like I keep telling myself, you have to sit down and plug these things into your planner so that you can figure out where you're supposed to be when,
It might be slightly important, just
I know.
have a little bit of an idea.
My poor assistant, I'm like, look, you are in charge of me. Like, you tell me what I need to be doing, because otherwise I'll just go off on a tangent and I'll start making something new. And she'll be like, excuse me, you have like 5 orders to fill. And I'm like,
all right, so make sure I am going to actually cut this piece, and I'm going to make Jill sit down and watch it. Jill's my office manager. So then I can be like, look, see, these are my people. So what Jill is like, you remember the Love Boat?
Yes.
remember Julie, the cruise director?
Oh yeah, she's
Yes,
yeah.
that would be Jill. And so like literally, like honestly, I'm like, Jill, do you need anything from me today? Like, did I forget anything? Can I go do this? Like, I mean, honestly, and I love it. I mean, I make no qualms about it. And when
Yeah.
we do Zoom things, you know, she literally is there with the clipboard, you know, as I'm like upstairs, like today, you know, blow drying my hair 5 minutes before I'm supposed to be on, you know, she's having a heart attack. And I'm like, this is life. This is how I live. And she hates it. So actually today, I just have to throw it in because some people saw it. She sends me a text and it's a meme and it's like, okay, something about, you know, you get to invite one person to this event and if they're late, you win $500,000. Who are you inviting? And she sent me that text. So of course I had a few choice words for her, but I was laughing because absolutely.
My God.
I'm pretty much late to everything I do, which is bad. I do admit it's bad, but if you know me, you know me. So anyway, I just thought that was really funny you said that because pretty much she's like my mom and just runs around after me and, you know, make sure I'm somewhat organized or, you know, because we're too creative, right? Got too many things going on. So I love it.
I have said for years that I need an adult nanny, like, you know, who like comes in and wakes me up gently, you know, and you know, lays out my clothes and then, you know, makes my coffee and then follows me to work. And then she's like, keeps, you know, every time I start wandering off, you know, keeps, you know.
Oh my God. I love that. You need like one of those, like you ever see the kids in like the amusement parks and the parents have them on those long,
oh yeah,
like retractable things.
yeah, yeah, fully. But yeah, Tess is my assistant and she, you know, if she's gone for a week, she comes back and she's like, what did you do? Because she knows that because I always like in my posts, I'm like, I was left unattended and this is what happened because of it, because, you know, like she's not there to remind me that I have other things to do. So I don't know, it's fun.
It is fun. And you know what, if you have to be self-aware, that's what I always say. And you know, if you can't laugh at yourself, who can? You know, this is what makes us all unique. This is what makes the world go around. And as long as you know those things about you, then you find the hacks to work around them. That's all it is, you know. I love it.
And I used to kind of beat myself up about stuff like that. And now I'm just like, you know what, this is a component of my personality and I have hired somebody to help me manage that, you know, and you know, it all works, you know, we all work in different ways.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to say, and I know, well, you're 3 hours behind, so you shouldn't be getting too tired. It's only 5:30, 5:40.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to certainly, of course, say thank you. And I've got a couple of housekeeping things, if you can bear with me before we shut it down. And, you know, of course, for everybody that's on, I'll make sure we give Christy the floor before we shut down for any last minute words. Do want to remind everybody as well, everybody that's been with us, don't forget tonight at midnight, our coupon code Holiday Life expires. If you missed the beginning before I started recording, I did run down the list of everybody whose names are going to be in for the raffle drawing. So that'll be exciting. Don't forget that's going to be tomorrow live. So don't forget, tomorrow is the 12th day of Christmas. It is our party. And I will be the sole guest, although I hope some of our guests might jump in and out. We will begin at 7. I will have some people live here with me that will gather beforehand. So we're going to kind of have 2 parties at once. So it's going to be fun. It'll be chaotic. I will be here for question and answer, whatever anybody wants to jump on, feedback, input, stories. So that's what it's all about. We will be finally naming the unnamed baby llama. I'm not sure that I can get him here in the studio, much like this beautiful thing here. I think that little guy would have like a complete heart attack. So he's not up to those capabilities. He's definitely not Munson. So maybe we'll get some footage and see if I can figure out how to screen share me telling him what his official name is. So either way, guys, I appreciate it. Also, my VIPs, all of you, don't forget the Celestial Sky Bulky will be removed tonight at midnight. The Violet Yarn Drop that we talked about last night will be removed at midnight. And also the turkey the turkey red that we dropped earlier this week will also be removed at midnight. So you guys all have the opportunity to grab those. That was my thanks to you. They're going to then disappear because we have to hang on to whatever we can as we get ready for Vogue Knitting Live in February.
Oh I am not ready.
I was just going to say, like, I could care less if nobody buys a single thing now from now until February. I mean, I'm really just joking. Don't take that. You know, we are all going to be working like a dog behind the scenes, you know, getting ready for that, but it's going to be exciting. I do also have some door prizes. Speaking of which, actually, I will have some marketplace tickets to give away as door prizes for our party tomorrow night. So I am going to be working hard to be coming up with some trivia questions based on all of our guests and things that were talked about, you know, throughout those sessions. So get your thinking caps on for that. So we'll have a little bit of fun with that too. So Christy, before we leave, anything you want to leave us with, anything that we didn't get to share, anything that you'd like to say?
Just, you know, thank you so much for inviting me on here, because you know, like, I'm terrible with my social media. And I would never ever start a Zoom by myself, or even probably a live on Instagram. Like, but this has been like so painless and so much fun. And so I really appreciate you reaching out and dragging me in.
Oh my
Kicking and
God,
screaming.
I was gonna say, like, now, like I said earlier, of course, now I find out, you know, how shy and an introvert you are. But again, this is totally, I mean, I knew it was gonna be, and if you were sweating it at all, you did not even show it, and you could have, and I would have made it easy for you any way that I possibly could. I think the most important thing, I feel, is transparency. And I love that you shared that this is not something you're totally comfortable with. And I hope we all made it feel comfortable for you. But I love people being real and owning it and sharing it, because there's somebody else out there that probably feels the same way. And as we've actually talked a number of times in this 12 days of Christmas, right? Like, nobody wants to feel alone. Like, you know, we all want to know that somebody else has those thoughts and feelings too. And we all have to find hacks and ways around them so we can continue to do what we do and do what we love. So I thank you for going out on a limb. You know, somebody asked me today too, I was chatting on the phone, and they're like, oh, it must have been so much work. Like, if you needed 12 guests or 11 guests, you probably had to call 18 people. And I said, you know what? I didn't. Everybody I asked, there was only one person who I don't think got it, and there was just like not a reply. It was like an evasion of the question, but everybody else that I asked jumped on. So I thank you, and I thank all of our other guests. See, that is why mine are locked inside, because I have way too many cords. And I learned my lesson one of the other nights when they got all wrapped up in the cords, and then everything was about to fall. So.
Yeah, she's she's a cattle dog, border collie pit mix, and very bossy, very, very bossy. And she's like
big. She looks big.
She's tall but thin, you know, leggy, you know, but she's like, pardon me, ma'am, 48 minutes past our dinner time.
I know.
Yeah, okay, it's time for dinner. Yeah, so her MO is when she's hungry, she just like crawls up.
I was gonna say, those eyes, she's giving you the eye.
I know, she's so funny. She's so funny.
Well, we're gonna let her go get her dinner, and we're gonna let you relax. And again, thank you so much to everybody that is on with us. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night for our wrap-up party. So Christy, thank you so much. And
thank you.
As always, guys, keep in touch with us in the DMs. Make sure you go check out birdiparker.com. Yes. Okay. I didn't know if designs was in there. birdiparker.com. Go check it out. And if nothing else, we'll see you live in February. So
yes, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great night, guys. Love everybody. Bye.